Welcome back to the deep dive. This time, we're diving into something really cool, I think. Learning analytics.
Oh, yeah. It's a hot topic for sure.
It is. And, especially for our listeners who are, adult learners trying to figure out how to keep learning and improve their skills. This is where data can really play a huge role.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about, tracking how many courses you finished. Learning analytics goes much deeper than that.
Sure.
Yeah. It's really about understanding the how and the why of learning, how people learn best, what motivates them, what are the obstacles they face, and then using data to make the whole learning experience better.
So it's about optimization, like you're saying, using data to actually make learning more
Effective.
effective. Yeah.
Engaging.
More engaging.
And ultimately tailored to each individual.
Tailored. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
like personalized learning taken to the next level.
Exactly. Imagine a world where your learning platform knows you,
Knows me.
knows your strengths, your weaknesses,
Yeah.
your preferred learning style. And it uses all that information to customize the content, the pace, even the types of assessments to make sure you're getting the most out of it.
Now, that sounds amazing in theory, but I'm already thinking about the practical challenges, especially for busy adults like myself,
Yeah.
who are juggling, work and family and a million other things. How do we make this work in the real world?
Yeah, you're hitting on a key point there. There are definitely challenges.
Challenges, okay.
Yeah. One of the biggest hurdles is just the sheer volume and complexity of the data itself.
The data itself.
Think about it. Learning data comes from everywhere these days. Online courses, assessments, social media interactions, even informal learning experiences. Trying to piece all that together into a meaningful picture, it's like solving a giant jigsaw puzzle
A giant jigsaw
with
puzzle.
like a million pieces.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's not just about collecting the data. It's about making sense of it.
Right, and that requires sophisticated tools and expertise.
Expertise, okay.
Yeah.
You need people who understand data science,
Right.
but also the nuances of how adults learn.
So it's not just a technical challenge, it's also about understanding people.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another critical aspect, ethics. We're dealing with sensitive information here about a person's learning journey, their strengths, their weaknesses.
Right.
We need to be very careful about how we collect and use that data.
Yeah.
Transparency and trust are paramount.
Makes sense. Especially when we talk about adult learners, our source material highlights some specific challenges there. What makes applying learning analytics to adults different from, say, analyzing data from a classroom of kids?
Well, for starters, adult learners are a much more diverse group.
Diverse, okay.
They come from all sorts of backgrounds,
Yeah.
have different careers, different life experiences, juggling different responsibilities,
Right.
capturing all that complexity in data and using it to personalize learning. That's not easy.
Yeah, it sounds like. We're almost talking about creating a unique learning path for each individual. Is that even possible?
It is, and that's where the real power of learning analytics comes in. Imagine a platform that adapts in real time based on how you're doing on your engagement levels. Even your emotional state as you're learning.
Emotional state. How do you even measure that with data?
That's where it gets really fascinating. Researchers are exploring ways to use data from facial expressions,
Really?
eye tracking, even physiological responses like heart rate, to understand how someone is feeling as they learn.
So we're not just talking about, multiple choice quizzes and tracking how many videos you watch.
Well, this is next level stuff.
It's still early days, but the possibilities are pretty mind-blowing.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a major breakthrough in personalized learning. But I have to admit, I'm also a little bit cautious. The more data we collect, the more potential there is for misuse.
You're absolutely right. The ethical considerations become even more important as this technology advances. Okay, so we've got this complex data puzzle, ethical concerns, and the unique needs of adult learners. Are you starting to think maybe this whole learning analytics thing is more trouble than it's worth?
Not at all. The potential benefits are just too significant to ignore. And thankfully, there are a lot of brilliant people working on solutions
Solutions, okay.
to address these challenges.
So there's hope.
There's definitely hope.
Well, I'm eager to hear about these solutions.
Yes.
Let's dive into those.
Let's do it. So one of the most promising solutions we're seeing is the use of AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning.
AI.
Yeah. These technologies can help us analyze those massive data sets we talked about, identify patterns, and even make predictions about how learners are likely to progress.
So we're talking about taking some of the burden off human educators.
Exactly. AI can handle a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to data analysis. which frees up teachers and instructors to focus on what they do best.
Which is?
Mentoring,
Hmm,
guiding, providing that human touch that's so essential to learning.
that makes sense. It's about using technology to augment human capabilities, not replace them.
Right.
But what about the ethical concerns we talked about? How do we make sure AI is being used responsibly in learning analytics?
That's a crucial question. One approach is to focus on transparency and explainability.
Transparency. Oh,
Learners should be able to understand how the AI is making decisions that affect their learning path.
so it's not just about trusting a black box. It's
Yes.
about understanding the logic behind it.
Exactly. And it also means giving learners control over their data, allowing them to opt out of certain types of data collection if they're not comfortable.
That sounds like a good balance between personalization and privacy. Are there any other strategies that stand out in our research?
Yeah, there are a few. Another really exciting area is the development of adaptive learning platforms.
Adaptive learning.
Okay. These platforms use real-time data to personalize the learning experience as you go.
Okay, so how does that work in practice?
Let's say you're taking an online course on project management. The platform might start by assessing your current knowledge, maybe through a series of questions or a short simulation. Based on your performance, it can then adjust the content to focus on areas where you need more support, or challenge you with more advanced concepts if you're already proficient.
So it's like having a personalized tutor built right into the platform.
Exactly.
But what about feedback? We talked about how important that is for adult learners. How do these platforms handle that?
Through a combination of data visualization and personalized recommendations.
Okay.
For example, you might have a dashboard that tracks your progress, highlights your strengths and weaknesses, and suggests specific resources or activities to help you improve.
So it's not just about giving you a grade, it's about giving you guidance.
Right.
And because it's based on real-time data, that feedback can be incredibly specific and relevant.
Exactly.
These platforms are taking a lot of the guesswork out of learning.
They can also help to identify learners who might be struggling or at risk of dropping
Oh,
out.
that's
Yeah. By analyzing patterns in the data, the platform can alert instructors so they can intervene and provide extra support.
okay, so that sounds great for individual learners, but what about the bigger picture? Can these platforms really handle the complexity of adult learning at scale?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest challenges developers are working on. One approach is to use cloud-based technologies that can handle massive amounts of data and personalize learning for thousands or even millions of learners simultaneously.
We need systems that are both powerful and flexible.
Exactly. Another key piece is developing open standards and interoperability,
Interoperability.
so that data can be shared seamlessly between different platforms.
So we're not just talking about isolated platforms,
No.
but a connected learning ecosystem.
Exactly.
It sounds like we're moving toward a future where learning is truly personalized, data-driven, and accessible to everyone. But before we get too carried away, I'm curious about the potential downsides. Are there any risks or unintended consequences we need to be thinking about?
Oh, absolutely. We need to be having those conversations constantly as this technology evolves. One risk is that we become too reliant on data and algorithms, and we lose sight of the human element of learning.
So finding the right balance
Yeah,
between technology and human interaction?
exactly. Another concern is the potential for bias in algorithms.
Bias, how so?
Well, if the data we use to train the algorithms is biased, then the recommendations and decisions they make will also be biased.
That's a crucial point. We need to make sure these tools are fair and equitable for all learners. So how do we mitigate that risk?
One way is to diversify the data sets used to train the algorithms. We need to make sure they reflect the diversity of learners and learning contexts. We also need to audit and monitor the algorithms regularly to make sure they're not perpetuating existing biases.
So it sounds like we need a whole new field of ethical data science, specifically for learning.
You got it. And it's a field that's rapidly evolving.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Challenges, benefits, ethical considerations. But I'm still left wondering, what does this all mean for the average adult learner out there? How can I actually use these insights to improve my own learning?
That's the question we're going to tackle in the final part of our deep dive.
All right, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about all these big ideas, the challenges, the potential, even some of the ethical dilemmas of learning analytics. But now let's get practical. For me, the adult learner out there, trying to level up my skills or learn something new, how can I actually use learning analytics to my advantage?
That's the key question, right?
Yeah.
How do we make this relevant to everyday learning?
Exactly.
Well, the good news is You don't need to be a data scientist or have access to some fancy platform to benefit from these insights.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of online learning platforms are already incorporating elements of learning analytics, even if they don't explicitly call it that.
So what should I be looking for when I'm choosing an online course or platform?
Pay attention to the level of personalization they offer.
Personalization.
Yeah, does the platform adapt to your pace, to your learning style? Does it suggest additional resources or activities based on your progress?
Okay, so it's about looking beyond just the course description and really digging into the platform's features.
Exactly. Another thing to look for is the type and frequency of feedback. Does the platform provide detailed feedback that goes beyond just a grade?
Meaning?
Does it pinpoint your strengths and weaknesses?
Mm.
Offer specific actionable steps you can take to improve? That kind of personalized feedback is super valuable.
It's like having a coach in your corner,
Yeah, exactly.
analyzing your game and giving you tailored advice.
Now, the thing is, learning analytics isn't just about these sophisticated platforms.
Okay.
You can apply the same principles to your own self-directed learning.
So even if I'm not taking an online course,
Right.
I can still use these ideas.
Absolutely.
How?
Become more aware of the data in your own learning process.
With my own data.
Yeah. Track your progress. Notice what study methods work best for you. Identify the areas where you consistently struggle.
So I'm basically gathering data on myself
You got it.
and then using that data to adjust my approach.
You got it.
Are there any tools that can help me do this?
Oh, yeah. There are tons of apps and tools out there.
Yeah.
But honestly, even a simple spreadsheet or a journal can be really effective.
It's about being intentional,
Yes.
about paying attention to how I'm learning, and then using those insights to get better.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different learning techniques.
Yes.
Different resources, different environments. See what works best for you and then double down on those strategies.
It's all about personalization.
It is.
Figuring out what works for me as an individual.
And remember, learning analytics is still a young field. It's constantly evolving.
Right.
So stay curious, stay informed, and embrace the power of data to shape your learning journey.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into learning analytics, what's the one big takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
That learning analytics has the potential to completely transform the way we learn, making it more effective, more engaging, more personalized than ever before. But it's not a magic bullet. It's a tool. And like any tool, it needs to be used thoughtfully and intentionally
Okay.
with the learner's best interests always at the forefront.
Beautifully said. So to all our listeners out there, whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your learning journey, embrace the power of data, be an active participant in your own learning, and never stop exploring new ways to grow. Until next time, keep on learning and keep on diving.